Welcome. So last time we worked on the UI, so now we can actually do drag and drop stuff around in the UI. We can even swap their position and all that. So that's working. Nice. Alright, and today we are going to work on picking up items. Instead of right now I'm just pressing a button to add them directly to the inventory. So let's work on that. Alright, so I'm going to go to my public section actually. So let's close all of this. In the inventory here, let's add a new class, an actor class. So this is gonna be the pickup. This is the thing that we're gonna put in the level that our character can interact with and add it to the inventory. So we'll do an actor and we'll call it IT inventory, and I'm going to place this in a actor folder. Here we go. So now we have an actor folder here. Great. Let's just clean this up a little bit. We don't need all of these. Nice. Okay. The actor will need, what do we need in the actor? Let's make a protected section actually. In here, I'm gonna add a U property to be edit instanced only actually, replicated. So replicated, and the category can be not this, but we'll do pickup. Alright, so there we go. And that's going to be an F gameplay tag world item tag, let's call it. So let's add this. So what is this world item tag? Well, it's just a tag, just like the definition here. If we go to item definition, our potion has a tag, which right now I think it's item.consumable.potion. So we can give the actor any tag here, just like we can give it the potion tag, and it will make it so that when you pick this up, this is what will be added to your inventory. So when you pick up this actor with the potion tag on it, we are just going to look up the item definition here, find the for instance here the potion, and then add that to the inventory. So that's what this is. Let's add another one. So yep, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be an int for world quantity. Let's do quantity equals just to 1. So this is the amount of the item. So if you want, so we'll change this once we place the actor in the world. We can change this to any amount that we want, like let's say 10 items or something. So right now it's, so if we give it the potion tag with the quantity of 1, so if we pick this up, we'll get 1 potion in the inventory. And let's do another U property. We'll do visible anywhere, blueprint, read only, and pickup. Sure, if it does pickup. T object pointer, use static mesh component, use static mesh component. So that's going to be the mesh. That's going to represent the item in the world. Also, I'm going to add another one. Let's do edit anywhere, category inventory pickup. We'll do a T object pointer of U material interface. And let's call it actually highlight material. Here we go. So what is this highlight material? Well, I want to, when I get close to an item and I'm within the pickup range, I want the item to glow so that I know, okay, I'm in the range, so now I can press the pickup button to pick up the item. So this will make the mesh glow with whatever material we set here. So that's what this is for. Great, and now to interact with this actor, I'm gonna use a interface. So that way we don't have to cast to this specific actor. We can use an interface that we can put on anything. So let's create an interface. I'm going to go to the inventory folder here and create a new class. Find interface here. It's going to be our inventory actor interface. And I'm going to put this in a subfolder called interface. There we go. So now we have this interface. Just clean this up. Okay, so what do we want in the interface? So I'm going to make a void highlight So this is what I'm going to use when I get close to the item and I want to highlight it. So I'm going to use this interface to tell the actor, hey, use the highlight material to glow. We'll also need a void unhighlight, yep. And we will need a if gameplay tag get item tag const. Sure. We will need a void set item tag. So here, yep, we will need an int 32 get world quantity, and we will need a void set world quantity. So we can set the amount, so this is to set the tag on it, so we can change what it is. So we can set a tag that says potion on it. To make it a potion, we can set a tag on it that says, I don't know, a weapon on it, and then it will be a weapon. Yes, so and all of these need a U function. So let's add a U function. Blueprint native event, blueprint core label, and let's do category not pickup, but we'll do interaction. Let me just copy this and put that everywhere. And this is complaining, so let's include. Don't forget you include here. That should be it for this one. So let's close the interface. Nothing to do here. Great. So now the actor needs to inherit from this interface. So we'll just add it here. Let's do include the inventory. Let's find the interface and add it here. And in the next to the public here, we'll add another one, public inventory interface. There we go. Which now allows us to get, oh, and by the way, since these are replicated variable, we will also need a virtual void get lifetime. Now let's override the functions from the interface. So highlight the virtual unhighlight, virtual void play get item tag. Oh, not void, that's why. Gameplay tag, get item tag. Virtual void set item tag, virtual and int 32, get this, and a virtual for set. There we go. Now let's implement all of these. Let me just delete that, don't need that. Okay, let's get rid of all of that stuff also. Okay, and we don't need the tick, so I'm gonna set this to false. Also, let's do b replicate to true. We need to make sure that this actor is replicated. And we'll do static component equals create the static component, the static mesh component. Set it as the root. And we'll set the world quantity here by default. Let's do 1. Great. And we will need the include for Unreal Network in order for this to work. Do a do rep. What is it? Do rep lifetime. Yep. What is it? Do rep lifetime. Here we go. This class and world item tag. And then again, just copy this. This time it's going to be world quantity. There we go. So we want these to be replicated. Now in highlight, what do we want to happen? Let's get rid of that. We'll check first if the static mesh component is valid and that the highlight material is valid. Otherwise we return. So I'm missing this here. Then we'll take the static mesh component to set overlay material to the highlight material. Great. And same here. We'll do an if the static mesh is valid. If it's not valid, we return. If it is, then we'll do static mesh set overlay, but this time we are going to do null pointer. Nice. Oh, and wait, why do I have set tag? I don't need this one. Oh, I mean get tag. I shouldn't have that here. And same for this get world tag. Let's remove them. Let's go back to here. So for get item tag, what I'm gonna do is do this and do return world item tag directly from here. And same for this one, to return this. Here we go. We don't need to implement these there. Here we go. Now for, what is it, set item tag. Let's first check if we have authority, because if we don't have authority, we should not be changing the tag on anything. Return, only the server can do this. Then the world item tag is this one, and then we are gonna force net update to make sure that everyone can see this update. Same thing here. Let's make sure that we are on the server, and we'll do something else here. We'll do if the in-world quantity is less or equal to 0. So if we are setting it to 0, we are going to destroy the item. So if we're picking up the item and we pick up everything, so now there's nothing left, we should not still see the item in the world, so we destroy it. So let's return here, and also here let's do this and force net update. Here we go. So right, that should be it for the actor. Great. Let's close this and close that. I don't think we need it anymore. Now how are we going to interact with this actor? That's the thing. The actor component. Actually, you know what? It doesn't have to be an actor component. Nah, yeah, necessary. Let's just make a new U object. It can be a U object, I guess. Let's do a inventory. How do I call it? Interactor. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's put that in its own folder called interaction. All right. So how is that going to work? So what I want to do is to basically create a circle, like a circle around the player, and when that circle overlaps with an actor, with the inventory actor here, we are going to make the actor glow, and if we press the button to pick up the item, we can pick up whatever actor is in that radius around us. So that's what I want to do. So I want to add a sphere component to my player. So let's work on that. So I'm going to make a public section here and create a new function called init inventory component. It's going to take, let's forward declare that, an in inventory component, and it's going to take in an in radius for the size of that sphere component. Let's create a void pickup item. That's the function that we're going to call when we want to pick up something from the ground. Let's make a new U function. I'm gonna call this onPossess pawn. Let's do a, because it needs to have a specific signature. So basically what I want is to, let's do pawn. What I want is to bind to the, what I want is to bind from the controller. The controller has a onPossess pawn function that is called when the controller takes control of a pawn. So when that happens, what I want is to set up the sphere component on that pawn that we just possessed, so that if we change character later, we'll just destroy the sphere component and create a new one on that new character that we just possessed. Okay, so that's that. Let's make a private section actually. Let's do a void create sphere. It's going to take in a pawn that we are going to use to add the sphere to. Let's create a void destroy sphere, but doesn't need all of that, just destroy sphere. A U function, a void on sphere begin overlap. We'll need that so that when the these will be our callbacks for when the sphere component overlaps with something. What's the thing for it? U primary component overlap. Let's do overlap comp actor U primary, no, primitive, yes, primitive component over comp, and int32 for over body indexed. Booby from sweep, this thing. We also need a void on sphere and overlap. So U primitive component overlap comp a actor over comp int32 over body indexed. There we go. What else? So we will definitely need a U property for a T weak. Let's do a T weak object. Point for the UIT inventory component. Let's add another one. Oh, actually, let's make this transient. Transient also. A T object pointer use sphere component. Forward declare it for the sphere component. Another U property for a T weak object pointer in a player controller. called player controller, and then a U property, the object pointer of actor. Call this nearby actors, and a float for radius. Alright, and this is missing that one here, or is it? Actually no, there's one too many. Alright, and what is this? Inventory component. Alright, great. So this is everything that we are going to need. So initialize this interactor, a function that we are going to use to pick up an item, a unpossessed that will allow us to set up the sphere component, a function to destroy the sphere component when we are unpossessing the character, and the two overlap begin and overlap end functions here, so that we know when we are overlapping something. Yeah, and this one, nearby actor, will contain all the actors that we are currently overlapping, so that we can just pick all of them up at once. Yeah, so let's do this and generate. All right. Now, in my init, what I want is take my inventory component, and set it to the inventory component. Same for the radius, and let's check if the inventory component is valid. Otherwise, we can just return. Great. Let's get the player controller. So we'll cast to the player controller, inventory component, get the owner, and we need the include. So don't forget you include. So we'll do if the player controller is not valid, we'll just return. Let's get the player controller and do unpossessed. Is that right? Yes, unpossessed. Oh, where was it? Unpossessed spawn change. Yep, this one. Unpossessed spawn change. We'll do first. Actually, let's do a remove dynamic. This class unpossessed spawn, just to be sure that it's clean before we add dynamic to it, because that can cause issues. So we'll do that. Next, we'll do the unpossessed spawn change that add dynamic. As we initialize this interactor component, oh, actually not a component, but as we initialize this class, we'll call unpossessed, passing it null, and player controller get born, so that it can initialize it at first. Right, so next we should, let me take this and put that all the way down here, I guess. Let's do unpossessed, what we want to happen. So that should be very simple. So I'm just going to get the new pawn, check if it's null. If it's not null, then we can do create sphere, giving it the new pawn. So we are taking possession of this new pawn, so we'll send that to this function. All right, well, what do we want to happen here? So we'll do a in pawn, let's make sure that it's valid, and let's do a player controller that is valid. Yes, and also that the player controller is local controller. Oops, return. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are the local controller, so that we don't create this. So the server doesn't create this for the proxies, meaning that on your client you're going to create one of them for your character on the client, and the server is not going to create one for your character. The server is going to create one for its own character on the server. That way we don't have a bunch of checks going on all the time on the server. We just want to check on the client itself. So the client is going to do the checks, and then when we are in proximity of an item that we can pick up, and we request to pick up an item, we're then going to inform the server that we want to pick up an item that is supposed to be in the sphere component radius. Then the server is going to do a check. It's going to do a check around the player character on the server to see if there is actually an item that the player can actually pick up, and then it's going to pick up the item for the client. So that's what we want to do. The only reason we have to create the The only reason we have to create this sphere on the client here is so that on the client, we can make the actor that we overlap glow. So we can highlight it. Okay, so now we local, let's destroy the sphere. If there's one, let's make sure, because there should be only one per character. So just in case we already have one somehow, we're gonna call destroy. Then let's do sphere component equals new object. So we create one, so it's a use sphere component, take it in the import, and let's call it interaction sphere. Great. Let's do a if sphere component is not valid, we'll just return. Let's do an import and add instance component that we just created. So the sphere component, add that to the character. Now let's do some stuff to the sphere component. So let's do sphere component. First, let's do setup attachment. Do the use the pawn and get root component. So now it's attached to the pawn. Great. Sphere component, again, we'll do set relative location and do f vector 0.f 0.f, and I'm gonna do negative 90. That's because that's how I've set my character mesh. In the blueprint there, it is negative 90 units down. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing for the relative location. That you can change that depending on how your character is set up. But usually most characters are set up like this. So let's do sphere component and int radius. Using the radius, sphere component, again, let's do, wait, what's next? Let's do set generated overlap event, let's do true. Sphere component, set collision enabled, collision enable, set that to query only. Sphere component, set collision response to all channels, let's do tr ignore everything, set it to ignore everything. Then we do sphere component, set collision for a specific channel. We are going to use the EC world dynamic and do overlap. So of course, if you have for your game, maybe you are using a custom channel, you can do that here. I'm just gonna use world dynamics. This one, need to register the component. And finally, finally we need to do an on component begin overlap that add dynamic, this and this class on sphere begin overlap. Then again, this one is going to be on component and overlap, so this one. And let's do a sphere component update overlaps immediately after we create it, so that if we are already overlapping anything, we can detect it. Okay, great. Destroy sphere now. What do we want to do here? Well, first thing first, let's make sure we have a sphere, sphere component. If we don't, just return. If we do, we'll take the sphere component on component begin overlap. We remove all. Alright, and same for this one. Sphere component again, destroy component, and component, let's set it to null pointer. Alright, so that's what we want to do on destroy the sphere. Combine everything, destroy the component, and set it to null. Now, what do we want to do on overlap? I'm going to check if is valid other actor. So check if the actor that we just overlap with is a valid actor, and then we'll do nearby dot contain other actor. So if nearby actor already contains this actor, meaning that we are already overlapping with it, we don't want to have double overlap. So we check, did we add this actor already in our nearby actor? If we did, then we just ignore it. Let's do other actor. Oops, what is all this? Other actor. Let's do a get class and implement interface. Oops. Let's make sure that it has my inventory actor interface. Let's do static class return if it doesn't. So we check if the actor implements the inventory actor interface. Let's do inventory actor interface execute the highlight of the actor. Also, let's do nearby actor, not remove, but add. All right. So we check if the actor is valid, or if we are already overlapping with it, and we check if it has the interface on it. If it does, we are going to use the interface to call the highlight, which is going to highlight the actor, and then we are going to add this actor to our list of nearby actors, so that we don't accidentally overlap with it twice. Great. Now for this one, let me just copy this actually. When we end overlap, we check if the actor is valid and that it is actually, let's do not in the list. If it's not in the list, we can return. So we are not overlapping with it. So there's no point in doing anything. Let's do what do we? Let's do. Actually, let me just copy all of this. That's what I want to do here. Just paste that here. So if the actor implements the interface, we are going to call, let's call an highlight. And since we are not overlapping with it anymore, let's get nearby and remove it from the nearby actors. And this is missing this here. Great. And now let's work on pickup item. Okay, that one's going to be a big function. All right, so picking up an item. What is this? Just remove that. All right. Okay, so now let's attack picking up an item. What do we want to do here? Let's first check if the inventory component is valid first. Let's also check if the player controller is valid. And let's check if, let's check if we are authority. So, how's authority? Are we on the server? Because we can only pick up an item on the server. So let's do a U world. We'll need that. We'll get the world, make sure that it's valid. Let's get a pawn. So pawn, no, not this. We'll do the pawn from the player controller. Make sure the pawn is valid. Let's make an F collision object query params. I'm gonna call this object params. Object params that add object type query collision channel dynamic. Okay, so now that we have a query parameter for the, we are going to be using this for the overlap that we are going to do on the server, by the way, because we are not using this sphere component that we created on the character on the client. So the server needs to do its own check because we can't trust the client. Let's do a collision query params. Call this query params, and then query params that be trace complex. Let's do false. Query params that add ignored actor will ignore ourselves, so that we don't accidentally trace our own character. All right, so let's make a T array of F overlaps, overlap result, overlaps. Okay, so we'll save everything that we overlap in here. Let's make a bool be hit. Okay, so now let's do the actual trace. So let's do world overlap object type, and then we can pass in the overlaps to save it in the pawn, and then do get actor location, the F what identity. Let's do object params and F collision shape. Collision shape, we are going to make a sphere using radius. We can have the correct size, and we need query params here. Okay, so that's the actual trace. Now we'll do a be hit and do return. Oops, return. So if we didn't hit anything, then we return. Otherwise, let's do a for loop. Let's do const overlap results. Overlaps. So let's go through all the actors that we have overlapped. So let's do actor. Let's create an overlapped actor variable. Get all the actors. If is valid. If the actor is not valid, we'll continue to the next one. If overlap actor get class. Let's do that. Implements interface. to the interface with this one. So if the actor does not implement the interface, we can skip it. Let's do const f gameplay tag, call this item tag. You can use the interface then to get the item tag. So get item tag from the overlap actor. We can also get the quantity. So int 32 quantity. We can get that again from the interface. So where get world quantity. Great. So now we know what did this should be execute get world quantity. Okay, so now we know the item tag and the quantity of it. Let's make sure that the item tag is valid, and same for the quantity. Now that we have that, we can do a const item. Let's do an item database. The inventory component, get the database, the const inventory, where is it? No, the item definition actually, item database. If it's valid, the item database will do get by definition item tag, otherwise null pointer. Let's make sure it's valid, otherwise we just continue. F gameplay tag ID, we'll get that also. Oh yes, so here comes an issue. So far we try to pick up an item, right? We create a sphere overlap, we see whatever we've overlapped with. If they implement the interface, we get the item tag, we get the quantity and everything. We get the item database so that we can check in the database if we can find this tag, so we can have the item definition. Great. Now we need to add this item to the inventory, but to what inventory are we adding this to? We need to have a main inventory. So for me, for this project, I will use the player inventory as the main inventory, meaning that whatever we pick up from the level will always go to the player inventory. Now you can change that. You can make it so that different items go to different inventory. But for now, what I want is whatever I pick up, like potions, armor, or whatever it is, will go first to my player inventory. I will use my player inventory as the main inventory. So what I need to do, so I will need to go to my component. Let's go to the inventory component here. The public section under all the getters. I'm going to add a gameplay. I'm going to add a get main container ID const, and also this needs to be a gameplay tag. Great. So let's implement this. Now, in order to use this, I also need to go to my, let's go to types, configuration here for the container config, which under container config, I'm going to add a new property and add a B is main inventory. So I can set it to false by default. I can set any inventory to a main inventory, which is where all the item will go by default. And in here, let's just loop over the const f gameplay config. Config. Here we go. And call this config container configs. Do an if config.b is main inventory. So if it is the main inventory and the container ID is valid, then we are going to return this ID. Otherwise, it's just return an empty gameplay tag. So now, if it is the main inventory, we return it. Great. So here we can do get main inventory ID, and let's just make sure that the ID is valid. Then we can finally use the add item request, make a request using the container that we wanted to go into, the item tag of the item and the quantity of the item. Great. Let's also add a item response. Let's also add a response here so that we can do a bool be added any. We'll do inventory component, try add item authority, passing in the request and the response. Great. Now if we didn't add anything, or that the response that add quantity is less than 0, we can continue. So we didn't add anything. Otherwise, we'll do the inventory, the interface, and we'll use that to execute the set the world quantity of the overlap actor. So overlap actor using response dot remain quantity, whatever's remaining after we've picked up whatever we can. All right. Now, I know I'm rushing a bit over. I got some places to be at, so that's why I'm kind of rushing over this a little bit. So I hope you forgive me about that. Yeah, I think this is all set up. Now we'll go to the inventory component, and in the private here, I'm going to add a U property here and add a T object pointer U IT inventory interactor that we've created. Let's just forward declare it. There we go. Now we've added that to the inventory component. I'm also going to add a begin play function here. Let's add a begin play here, and in begin play we can take the inventory interactor and create it. So new object IT inventory interactor, and then check if the inventory interactor is valid. If it's not, we return. If it is, then inventory interactor, we just initialize it with this and the radius. For now, I'll just hard code it as 200. Okay, so in begin play, when we start the game, we create this inventory interactor and we initialize it. So let me just run this. All right, so now I'm in. What I'm gonna do is go to the third person in the player controller, and let's just get rid of this add that I was using here. Let's get rid of it actually. And actually I'm gonna copy this, paste it here, change this to, let's say, E. When I press E, I want to request to, oh yeah, true. I did not set this up. Okay, so we have all of this set up, but I have not set up the ability to request to pick up an item yet. I will stop here for now, unfortunately, because I got to go, unfortunately, again. Sorry, but yeah, so hope you've enjoyed, and see you in the next one where we're gonna finish this, the ability to pick up an item. Alright, bye-bye.